Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. As you can see, today's video will be all about hair. It won't be about fur, so it will just be about realistic human hair or some long-haired creature, I guess, but nothing like detailed texture like a tiger or a zebra, nothing like that. It's mostly just standard physical hair shading. So this is what I will be creating. I pre-prepared this tutorial just to see what the end result will look like. So you can see that there's a nice amount of scattering happening in the hair, lots of detail, and you can see that there's a color shift going from the center to the outside. So there's a kind of ramp connected to that. So before we start, I want to thank Tarkan for providing this fantastic groom. You can visit his IMDb page right here. He has worked for lots of big feature films as a groomer. Pretty nice stuff. So thank you for that, Tarkan. And so this is the Maya setup. This is the fantastic room. As you can see, it works. The new Arnold 5 works pretty nice with viewport shading as well. So you can see all the nice highlights and everything. You might wonder what this stuff here is. This is just light blockers. I will show you how the current lighting looks like in a minute. Before we start, I want to show you my current Arnold version, which is MtoA 2001 with Core 5001. So that's a core version, that's a plugin version for Maya, and this is what I'm using, just that you guys are aware of that. So before we jump in, I just want to give you a quick view what the lighting looks like. So I still keep saving because well, you know Maya crashes, so that's why. So this is now let's just reduce the resolution because I think it's way too big for now. And you can see I've got depth of field still enabled. Whoa. And if it's lagging, you can increase your UI threads so it's a bit smoother experience, as you can see like that now. And I want to first disable the depth of field. It's in the camera, Arnold tab, and then disable DOF. Right, so this is my current light. You can see I've got a strong key light from the right, and I've got some blockers like these things going over the face and here. It just adds a bit more realism to everything. And then a pretty strong rim light to give this nice ear lighting. And when you see the hair in the end, it gives a nice fall off here. And you can see those stripes going over her face, which are done by those blockers. Yeah, this is the simple lighting. And let's start by going through the render settings. Importantly, for light hair, it is important to have a high amount of specular ray depth. So in the final render, these were my settings: 5 bounces for spec, 2 for diffuse, and these were 8 to 5 for the roughness, spec roughness, for the indirect noise. So the result looks like this with those values. You can see so there's some noise, but I think that is due to depth of field. Not entirely sure, no, because you can see the noise here, it's similar there. Anyway, so let's go into the shading part. So I'm saving and I'm unhiding the hair. And what I already did is just assigning the default shader, and I renamed it to AI hair. So this is the default settings for that shader. Let's head over to the hypershade and graph this shader. So there should be nothing connected. Let's see if it does actually bring it up. Hair region mask, this is groom related stuff. So this is the default hair. I'm saving. I will now reduce the render settings just that we have quick iterations. Let's just bring everything back very simple down to the defaults. All right, so what else do I have? I've got bucket size. I go down with that. And what else did I do? That's actually it. Nothing too fancy. All the basic stuff. And let's start the IPR session. So this is what I get with the default hair shader. And for hair, because it's so thin, it's important to check it check the final render step. So the IPR is just good for tuning in the colors, but mostly you don't see the final result when you do like IPR stuff. So if I frame this, you can see what's going on here. And you need to wait until the final step to see the best finished result. Right, so this is what we get so far. So what I like to do is first play around with the colors. And normal hair, you mostly see that it's on the root, it's mostly darker, and then when the longer the hair gets, it gets more bleached by the sun, or I don't know. So sometimes you see this fall off there. So the first thing what I like to do is connect a ramp to that. Just a simple ramp texture, and plug in the out color into the base color. So currently, let's see how that looks. So I'll first disable the melanin to 0. And let's see how this looks like. And if I go to isolate selected, you can bring up this menu in window toolbar icons, debug shading. And if I select a ramp, this is now the default. It is mapped from the UV param. So the strand on the root gets a color of black and the tip a color of white. So you can see if I move the ramp, you can see how the hair grows or gets shorter. So this is mostly what I like to do, just to blend this color with the melanin color, as it would happen in the real life. You've got one fixed amount of pigmentation in your hair, and then due to bleaching of the sun or your hair products or whatever, you get a different like a bleach to that. It won't change the pigmentation, but it changes the color. So this is something what I like to mimic here. So I'm changing the ramp to be smooth, so we have a softer fall off. And then for the darkest color, I just do something like this, I guess. And then for the brightest color, which is white, this is the default color we want to get. So if you want to add some variation to this, what you can do, you can actually plug in another ramp, or you can just introduce some noise to this. And you can actually see that there is some breakup now going on here. You can see it's not uniform anymore. But the problem is the root color is also affected because the ramp is shifting. And so what I like to do is I just have the same black or dark color in the front. So this is kind of a cheat, but it gives, in my opinion, pretty nice detail to everything. And you can see now this is still dark here, and we get this brighter spots here, and then there is a bit darker. So there's a more variation to it. And if you want to increase the result, you just need to, I don't know, add another color so you have more a more uniform color in between those shifts. And obviously you can play around with the noise, you can change the frequency to be very high, then you get these spots everywhere. It depends what you want to achieve for a result. So I mostly do it very subtle, and even like the colors, I don't mostly go so dark for the blackest areas. So you can think of this as a multiplier which goes on top of the melanin count. So let's see what we can do now. And you have a pretty nice guide on the docs for Arnold, just to see what melanin color you want to use. So you actually have presets for hair, I think. You can actually have some, or let's just double check. Yeah, you've got some presets here which set these colors. So if you want to be lazy, just click them and you can work with that. No question asked. But I just want to show you how to set it up. So these are melanin values. You can read what they are, and if you want to have like dark black hair, it's a value of 1, and the more you go to 0, the brighter it gets, and then at some point it becomes like red. And then you also have the control to change the redness as well. So the melanin, let's actually see if I can, I can't really isolate that color. But anyways, so you can see, let's just choose this, and yeah, so let's just see what we get. So this is pretty white now, and now you for this color, you could actually see that there is this fall off going on in the hair. And then the higher this value goes, the darker the pigmentation, and the blacker or redder, whatever you want to achieve, the hair gets. So I like to use a natural blonde value, and I was playing around a bit, and I found that a value of 3.4, I think it was, is a good blonde color. So this is what I got with that value. So this is whatever you want to do. If you want to have brown hair, you can just choose different colors. And then more importantly is the melanin redness. So if you put this to 1, you can get these ginger red hair. If you put this to 0, this is like a default brown blondish color, which is a natural for a blonde person. This might be a bit too brown, but let's just work with this so far. Then obviously you have roughness. Oh no, wait, I jumped the gun. So melanin randomize is very important because what this does, it gives a color variation per each hair strand, which gives more realism to everything. So I think a value of 0.1 is pretty good. It might be, I think the default in the AL shaders was 0.05 or something, very small. So this is something you need to play with, and you can, I think, if you check the albedo for the hair, you can actually see the shift. So let's quickly try if it actually does work. So I'm just creating the AOV quickly, which is should be diffuse albedo. Oh, it's already, no, there you go, diffuse albedo. Yeah, let's see how this looks. It might actually be also transmissive. Let's just add these other ones as well. Spec albedo and transmission. And starting again. Let's see what we get with these albedo values. Yeah, because I thought so. The hair is actually not transmissive. Is it this one? Oh, I'm not sure if it does actually write to AUVs. So apparently not. So I don't know. Anyways, going back to this, the randomize is important. So keep that on, and you have a nice randomization on the hair strand. You can see how noisy it is with my default simple values. It's very noisy. Then you have the roughness. Roughness is just how shiny the hair is, and you have a pretty nice guide on the Arnold guide. So this is user preference. So if it's very low, you get like almost greasy, shiny, oily hair, which I don't know, it's preference. So I think the default is on 0.2 is pretty good. So let's just, I like it a bit more shiny. So let's just do 1.5. And then IOR. This is also depends on which kind of hair type you want to do, but there's also a nice guide on here. So different people, like hair types, have different values for the IOR and the color shift definitely. So the color shift, so there we go. This is the default IOR, and then it is a bit different depending on what hair type it is. So blonde hair is a bit more, and then it's a bit less. So it's something you want to choose. And then you have the color shifts, which is what I was just talking about. Different types have different color shifts. So this is 3 degrees from the top to the bottom lobe. So this is also something to play with. If you want to be accurate, I think for blonde people, it's 2.8 degrees. And then IOR, you can choose, like the higher the IOR, the more overall metally shiny it gets, and the more you reduce this, the more you can really see the fibers. So let's just do 5.4 or something, not too crazy. And I think all these other values are mostly used for artistic control. So you can tint the colors, like you can add a red second spec tint. Like this is breaking physicality now. So if you want to do physical hair, I wouldn't recommend you touching any of these because these are what is the proper physical values. And then obviously you can play around with diffuse, and all this stuff breaks physicality, and it's also noted in the guides right here. So this is what you can do if you just play around with those values. Diffuse will bring up like a dusty, dirty hair, and then you obviously can change the colors for that as well. But for this tutorial, I won't be covering this because this is breaking physicality, and I want to show you how to work with that. So let's just change my display gamma to Rec 709, which is a bit more punchy. And let's head over to the render settings. So I know these settings kind of works already because I tested them out before. So for the color, I mean now. So you can definitely, if you want to go brighter, you can, I don't know, go maybe like this. it should get a bit brighter. And let's see what we can do with the render settings. So first of all, for hair, it's very important to have a high AA sample because you want to catch this fine detail of hair. So in the final render, I had 8 for the AA samples, and then 5 for the spec because it's very rough. Like hair is has different bounces and it's roughing up quite quickly. So it's important to have a high value there. But more important is the ray depth. So the higher this value, the more bounces you get in the transmissive path for the hair. So this is very important to see to increase the specular bounces. So, and then obviously for SSS, because I have that, I want to have 2 bounces or two samples for that. Let's increase diffuse also to 2, and let's increase spec to 3. And I like to change the mode to be progressive off so I can see the final step immediately. So I don't need to wait for the iterations to happen. And you can already see now it's still very noisy in the SSS, but I also have very low AA samples still. So I just want to quickly find a nice area which we want to render. So let's choose this area here. Maybe let's choose, this is how I work actually. I do small windows where I render with the final step and just to debug the renders. So you can see it's still pretty noisy. So what should we do? We should increase the AA samples. So let's go up to 6. And we've got 6 bounces in the spec, which is pretty high, but it is worth it. And you can see it already takes a longer time to sample, but there you go, you can see something is happening. I'm zoomed in by 250%, keep that in mind. So the original pixel is like this. So it is not too bad already. And you can see the hair is clearing up already. You can see there's a bit of noise in this area. So let's see what ray type it is. So it is in the indirect, which means it's indirect spec, I guess. Specular albedo, spec direct, spec indirect. So it is definitely in here. And what else do we have? That's kind of it for the hair. So to clean it up even more, we need to increase the specular samples to clean this up if we want to. But I think I showed you how I set up the hair, so there's not really much more to it than what I just did. It mostly depends on lighting, how you catch the highlights, how the groom is done to get the best detail out of that. And in the end, if you did all those things, you can achieve something like this. And obviously I added depth of field and I played around with the lighting to make it look nicer. And this is what the result looks like. And it's very simple to set up actually. Important things to consider are on the hair itself. It depends which groom tool you use, XGen or Shaven Haircut or Yeti or whatever. There are certain values which you can control. Something like minimum pixel width, opaque is for transparent shadows, which type, ribbon or thick. But these are like different options which you can read up on Arnold's web pages. Minimum pixel width is like a forced thickness of the minimum width of each strand. Currently it's 0, so it takes longer to sample. So you might consider to bring this up like a 0.01 or something, just to see how it looks. But it should sample better and faster. Yeah, so this is the introduction to the AI hair, and in another tutorial I will be creating like a fur where you have like a texture for the root and tip, so you can have like a tiger pattern or whatever. But this is just for the introduction to the AI hair, and I hope you liked it. It was nothing too fancy, I guess. It was just showing you how to plug in a RAM for changing the root and tip colors. You can plug in textures if you want that, but this is so far what it is. And what else? Let's just see what we can. Let's just check out those presets. Let's break this connection quickly. And let's see what we have for auburn hair. This is what they have. And let's just render this section here. And let's see how it compares to their auburn here. Like this. Mine is a bit more reddish because maybe I have a stronger light source, so the light scatters more. Let's try the green one, how that looks. Ooh, yeah, you can see they have definitely softer lighting in here. I've got really strong light from the left, so it burns out a bit. But you can also see that it burns out in here a bit. But yeah, this is the shading tutorial for hair. I hope you did like it. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please comment below. And I would encourage other people to reply on comments if you have the solution as well, because I'm getting more and more comments and I'm having a hard time to reply to everyone. So thanks again for tuning in, and yeah, be patient. The next one is coming pretty soon. Thank you guys.